Hi, this is Jessica Schaefer, and I'm posting this message just to answer some questions that have come up. Some people have been interested to know what is the difference between tremoring for regulation versus tremoring for release. And I think it's a really good question, so I wanted to post this message. So, tremoring for release, when I first started working with restorative tremoring, the model that I was working under, it was all about trauma release. And what I would see over and over again is that people would come in, they'd come in with the framework that they wanted to get all the icky stuff out as quickly as possible. So I think the presupposition was the more I tremor, the bigger my tremor, the faster I'm going to heal and I'm going to feel better. And that is actually not at all how things work when we're dealing with the nervous system. So I would see happen is people would think that they were regulating and staying inside of a comfortable window of tolerance, but they would be actively overriding very clear signs and indicators from the body level that they were actually no longer feeling inside of their window of tolerance. And I would see them push through. So I found very quickly that I was teaching people how to slow down, how to do less, how to start paying attention. And it occurred to me pretty quickly that even when we think we understand what good self regulation is all about, and we think that we're staying inside of our window of comfort and tolerance, I was seeing that the majority of us don't actually really know how to do that. So I was teaching people how to regulate. So the difference here is in the reset model, the tremor itself, the restorative tremor, is used as a regulation tool. Okay. Now, in order to actually work with it effectively, we have to start from a foundation of introducing people to some really important concepts. And one of the important concepts that I want to introduce people to before we even approach talking about the idea of tremoring is how to track experiences of safety from within the body. So we're talking about safety from the cellular level on up. And the reality is, for many of us, that's not even on our map of consciousness. We either have never considered asking that question of ourselves, or it's simply not accessible to us, a feeling of safety. It's not something we've ever felt. And I think there are lots of reasons for that. I think culturally, we don't grow up learning how to listen to our body, how to be connected to our body. I think anyone who's ever experienced being in a system that has been impacted by chronic and ongoing stress or overwhelming events knows that one of the primary ways that we manage the overwhelm that our system is feeling is we sort of numb out, or we shut down, or we separate from body sensation, because if we're in touch with it, it can feel very, very uncomfortable, even terrifying, to be inside of a physiology that's out of balance. But it's really important to start to learn to begin to track that concept of safety from within inside of our bodies, and to at least know, is it something that's available to us? Is it a lack of safety we feel? Maybe there's actually comparative safety that we feel. We don't feel safe in this situation or in this posture, but we feel safe in this situation or in this particular posture. So that's the first thing I'm introducing people to. And a big part of that is teaching people how to track and monitor body sensations, which is not a simple little thing. It sounds like a really simple thing, but the reality is, for most of us, it's a foreign experience or it's a threatening experience. So it really has to be done in very conservative, well monitored doses, and always with that evaluation of, am I inside of a really accurate window of tolerance, or am I pushing myself to a place where my system is actually shutting down, right? So those are the things that are in place when we're talking about tremor for regulation versus tremor for release. And the actual tremor itself becomes, once you have that foundation of introducing an individual to the concept of tracking safety from within the body, once you introduce them to skills and practices that help them begin to notice that they can shift that experience and go from one of lack of safety to one of increased safety, then there is sort of this window of partnership that begins to open up between the individual and their body and their nervous system. The nervous system actually becomes a friend and an ally, trying to communicate through body sensation what is truly and accurately happening from within. And if we have that foundation, we can introduce this concept of restorative tremoring from a perspective of it being an exercise in regulation. So, in other words, we turn on a certain amount of sensation and then we back away from it and we evaluate, how did our nervous system respond to that? Does it feel safe and comfortable, or does it feel like that was enough? And that's basically the process of tremoring for regulation. That gradually over time, what you're doing is you're building greater capacity, increased tolerance, and over time, an enhanced experience of safety in the body by allowing the nervous system to actually start to quiet and downregulate. And in the process, you're teaching individuals that they can and do have some power and control over how their body responds. They don't have to feel alienated from their body or overwhelmed and out of control by their nervous system responses. They can actually partner with them in new ways and build new pathways of response by exploring regulation at a much more refined and nuanced level. So that's those are my 2 cents around tremor versus release, or tremor for release versus tremor for regulation. I hope this is helpful information, and I will likely be posting more of these short messages online for you guys to take a look at. Maybe it's helpful information for you. Please let me know if you have questions or you want specific topics to be addressed. Thanks much.